Hi guys, I'm Nate from Recapped Now. Today, I'm going to recap a 2020 adventure thriller movie called Horizon Line. While on a plane, former lovers Sara and Jackson discover that the pilot has passed away due to a heart attack and they must find a way to fly the plane on their own. Sara and Jackson, a couple in love, are sitting in a bar together, viewing videos. They met on the sunny island of Mauritius and have spent the past year together on exciting adventures. Tonight is their final night together. In the morning, the girl will fly to London to begin her new work. She invites Jackson to accompany her, but he chooses to stay on the island where he was so happy. An awkward lull occurs, and the boy offers Sara another bottle of beer. Sara flees when he temporarily leaves because she despises saying goodbye. Jackson returns, perplexed, searching for his beloved. A year later, fate pulls Sara back to Mauritius for her closest friend's wedding. The girl feels freer now that she is not at work. She arrives at an old acquaintance's residence, Solomon, on behalf of the bride, but there appears to be no one there. Sara goes over the fence and is promptly mauled by an enraged dog. The girl climbs back up the fence, terrified, but fortunately for her, the house's owner steps out. His associates place containers of rum in the girl's pickup vehicle for the planned celebration. Sara later reunites with Pascal and other old friends, and they continue to party as they had a year previously. The best pals decide to get a cocktail at Pascal's pub. The bride says the party will take place on the adjacent island of Rodriguez, where a ferry is set to depart early in the morning. Sara admits that she has missed Mauritius, and thoughts of it always make her happy. Pascal inquires if her buddy wishes to stay here this time, as her position permits her to work remotely. The girl claims she is needed in London, but her voice contains a trace of skepticism. A boat reaches the pier, and Jackson emerges with his companions. Pascal announces that he has started his own diving school on the island and has a girlfriend. Sara is humiliated to find that she will have to meet her ex-partner before the wedding, as he will be attending a beach party that evening. Throughout the celebration, the girl is unable to take her gaze off Jackson. Finally, having mustered the bravery, she decides to approach him first, which frustrates his current girlfriend. Sara attempts to strike up a cordial discussion with her ex, but receives apathetic responses. He chooses to leave the party, but the girl persists and offers to accompany him home. During the walk, Sara softens Jackson's heart, and they go drinking to his house. The female freely flirts with the guy before putting on her life jacket. Jackson, playing about, places it directly on top of her. As a result, the couple becomes increasingly close to one another, and feelings resurface between them. Sara wishes for a kiss, but Jackson manages to suppress the urge. He truly states that he does not want her to betray him again. Following this, they began to argue, reliving all of each other's errors and resentments. During the intense conversation, they become closer and have a passionate kiss. Sara decides to run away without saying anything the next morning, following a tumultuous night. Pascal, enraged, contacts her to notify her that she has missed the sole ferry to the wedding destination. Sara, in a dire predicament, arrives at her elderly buddy Freddie's home. He plans to fly to the party in his small plane and offers to bring the girl with him. The girl is astonished to find that Jackson has also agreed to fly Freddie to the wedding. After grabbing a case of rum, the trio boards the plane. Sara tries uncomfortably to chat to Jackson, but after the events of the morning, he decides to ignore her. During the flight, Freddie encourages Sara to assume the co-pilot seat while Jackson naps. They begin up a chat about relationships, and the man mentions his wife, who died lately after a serious illness. He informs the girl that love isn't always simple, referring to her and Jackson. Sara previously had pilot lessons from Freddie, so he offers she take the wheel. He reminds her of some basic safety rules. After receiving her last instructions, Sara turns off the autopilot and prepares to assume control of the plane. Jackson wakes up to find that a poorly secured gas cylinder has rolled under his feet. Freddie suddenly begins coughing convulsively, panting for air. Jackson tries to secure the cylinder as he hears Sara shouting that the old guy is suffering a heart attack. The pills don't work, and the chief pilot collapses head first onto the steering wheel, sending the jet into free fall. The cylinder comes off again, causing a fracture in the plane's windshield. Jackson just manages to reach Freddy and pull him off the wheel. In the final moment before colliding with the sea, Sara manages to straighten the plane and gain height. Jackson carries Freddy's body aside and attempts to do CPR. However, valuable rescue time has been missed, and the man covers his breathless body with his jacket, shedding tears. After taking over as chief pilot, he discovers that the plane's GPS is damaged and that the couple's phones have no cell phone access, so they have no idea where they are. Jackson, along with Sara, attempts to interact with the outside world via radio. No one makes contact, increasing the couple's anxiety. Their only hope is the autopilot, which is designed to transport them to Rodriguez Island. However, it quickly becomes evident that the fractured cylinder has caused significant damage to crucial control system components, including the autopilot. The problem is compounded by the fact that barely half a tank of fuel remains. Sara, who has been taught some rudimentary aviation skills by Freddy, must guide the plane to safety. After calculating an approximate route with a compass, the girl rotates the plane 180 degrees. The couple is frightened to find a storm approaching them. The plane begins to shake, but Jackson is confident that they will make it through the storm cloud in time. They are finally able to contact Samuel, the local air traffic controller. The pair reports back to him and requests for assistance. The air traffic controller informs them that they must change directions quickly or they will run out of fuel for the trip. To get to land as soon as possible, they must fly west, straight through the storm. Jackson is not pleased with this idea and requests that they land the plane on the water instead. As the storm approaches, contact is cut off. The couple has no choice but to fly into the center of the storm. Lightning flashes ahead, and heavy clouds surround them. Jackson instructs Sara to relocate to the main pilot's seat where she can view the instruments easily. The girl faces a difficult task. Despite the severe weather, she must keep the plane at the same height. Lightning strikes cause the aircraft to shake excessively, and the instruments go berserk. Sara, terrified of crashing, decides to gain height and fly over the storm. In a panic, Jackson tries to talk the girl out of her crazy idea, but she ignores him. Finally, they are above the storm cloud, delighting in the beautiful skies. However, the joy fades quickly. As Freddy predicted, they develop altitude sickness. While the girl is unconscious, the plane begins to descend swiftly. Jackson manages to bring her to her senses, but Sara is unable to stop the fall. However, during the fall, their compass failed, sending them permanently off course. Jackson recalls how to construct a compass using makeshift materials. He takes a magnetic needle and immerses it in an alcohol-based liquid. This is how they figure out their location, and Sara turns west again. Finally, the pair makes it out of the storm, but they have used far too much petrol to do so. Sara realizes that one of the tanks is almost empty and decides to switch to a full tank. However, the fuel level drops dramatically and does not recover, even over time. Jackson speculates that the gasoline tank might have been damaged during the storm, causing it to malfunction. In his unwavering determination to discover and rectify the source of the problem, he resolves to climb out. Sara tries to persuade him to abandon the idea, but she understands that without gasoline, they have no hope of surviving. Jackson binds himself with a rope and instructs the female to slow down. He carefully crawls out of the plane and, after numerous failed efforts, enters the engine area. There he detects the breach and tapes it shut. But then he slips and falls, damaging his arm. Jackson grabs the rung with his healthy arm, and the girl rushes to the guy's help after securing the wheel in one position. His safety rope becomes stuck in the plane's wheel. Sara cuts the rope and lends a hand to help him get to the cockpit. Through a tremendous effort, the girl is able to bring Jackson inside. She examines his arm and realizes he has a severe fracture. After applying alcohol to the open wound, she diverts the man's attention and straightens his arm. The girl then uses the first aid package to apply a tourniquet. After recovering from the stress, the couple checks the dashboard and discovers that there is just 5% fuel remaining in the tank. Sara proposes losing weight to save time and fuel. At first, Sara tosses out all of the seats and bags, drawing the attention of a boat cruising below. Soon, the couple realizes that this is insufficient, and they look at Freddy's breathless body together, The girl decides on desperate methods. She tears the family photo of the happy Freddy from the dashboard and places it in the man's breast pocket. Sara moves the old man's body toward the exit and pushes him down. The girl then sets off to dispose of the liquor crates, but Jackson is immediately struck with the thought of using room as fuel. Because of his bad injury, the guy is unable to refuel the tanks, so Sara decides to complete the task. Gathering confidence, she steps outside and climbs onto the plane's roof. When she reaches the wing, she opens the fuel tank and begins pouring in the alcohol that Jackson has given her. Sara attempts to stand up after emptying all of the rum bottles and somehow avoids falling down. The risk is worth it, and the gasoline level rises somewhat. Jackson informs the girl that he has found a little island along the road where they can attempt to land. He informs Sara that they must return immediately, since there may be no other option for rescue. The female decides to listen to the guy and sits in the main pilot's seat. The pair alerts the dispatcher of their intentions, hoping that he will hear them. Sara spins the jet around, but after a few minutes of flight, they still can't find the island. Then the most terrifying thing happens. The gasoline supply runs out, and the plane's engine quits working. The flying aircraft begins to glide in the air and remains in that position for some time. Sara realizes the gravity of the issue and decides to apologize to her former boyfriend for any sorrow her actions have caused him. Jackson also apologizes for being selfish and not appreciating his lover's decisions. Suddenly, Jackson observes the extremely small island through the glass. The ecstatic girl turns the plane around and starts gliding towards land. She attempts to land, but at low altitude, she loses entire control of the airplane. Jackson anxiously tries to communicate with the dispatcher to report an emergency landing. Despite Sara's best attempts, the jet crashes into the ocean and rolls over. Water instantly begins to flood the fuselage while the couple is locked inside. Sara opens the door and swims to the surface, only to discover that Jackson is nowhere near here. She dives back for the guy, only to find him unconscious and caught in the sunken plane's wing. Before the jet crashes into the ocean, the girl takes a life jacket from the cockpit and places it around the guy's neck. They both float to the surface, and Sara pulls the man's body to dry land. She administers CPR, and Jackson regains consciousness, spitting out seawater. The tired pair collapses on the sand, relieved to be saved. They doze off for a time, and when they wake up, they see that the area around them has almost totally flooded. Sara is distraught as she realizes their prospects of survival are slim to none. She urgently searches around for help, but all she sees is the enormous sea surrounding them. The ground gradually gives way beneath the couple's feet. Sara starts crying, deciding that here is where her life will end. Exhausted and tired, Jackson believes he has no hope of surviving, so he lends his beloved his life jacket. But Sara refuses, insisting that they are a team and that she will stick with him to the end. Jackson's wound opens up, attracting the interest of a few sharks. The couple confesses their love to each other, sensing the end is close. At that point, however, a tiny fishing boat approaches them after hearing their distress signals. Sara uses the last of her might to pull Jackson to the boat. They successfully jump aboard before the sharks catch up to them. The surviving pair promises to never say goodbye or kiss each other again. Do you believe the main protagonists could have survived such a circumstance without each other's help? Please do hit that like button if you enjoyed the recap. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell for more movie recaps. Stay tuned for our next cinematic adventure, and until then, happy watching.